Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please.
Welcome to Liberty Report USA. Let's take a look at what happened in the Senate today.
Mr. Director, we're not. We'll make sure your agency is adequately funded. This judge you arrested in Wisconsin, she was breaking federal law, wasn't she?
Yes, that's why we arrested her.
She was helping an illegal immigrant escape being taken into custody. Is that right?
Yes, and the field agents decided to open the case, work the case.
And as Americans, do we get to pick and choose which laws we want to follow?
We do not.
If you're a state court judge, do you get to decide you don't want to follow federal law?
No.
And if you violate federal law, you get arrested, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
That's called equal treatment under the law, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
You remember Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI, Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. I think Ms. Page worked for Justice. The Inspector General found in its investigation that they hated President Trump and they really wanted Secretary Clinton to win. Is that true?
That's correct, sir.
And this would be the same same Ms. Page who sent an email to Mr. Strzok with whom she was having an affair. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? And Mr. Strzok with the FBI, senior official at the FBI replied, quote, no, he won't. We'll stop it. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Senator.
Okay. Now, Ms. Page got quit before she could get fired. Mr. Strzok was fired. And predictably, they filed a lawsuit because in Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please. The Hunter Biden laptop. In October 2016, shortly before the election, the New York Post wrote a story that was widely covered talking about Mr. Hunter Biden's influence peddling scheme based on his laptop. A couple of weeks later, Secretary of State, soon-to-be Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, organized a group of 51 so-called intelligence experts. Had some real rock stars on the list. Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, and they said, oh, no, the story in the New York Post is not true. It's based on Russian disinformation. You remember that?
I do, Senator, as the lead investigator for Russiagate for the House Intel Committee.
Yeah. The FBI had the laptop for 10 months, hadn't they?
They did, Senator.
So the FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they?
And that was confirmed by the Inspector General's report.
Yeah. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth?
I don't have that name in front of me, sir.
Well, would you look?
I will, sir.
I'd like to know. I'd like a name, not a division. I'd like the name. Person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Reid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director. As you're well aware, DOJ.
In those final seconds of the hearing, when Senator John Kennedy leaned forward and asked Kash Patel the question that had hovered over American discourse for years: did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself, or did somebody kill him? The room seemed to contract. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic in the theatrical sense, but it was a moment where the thin veneer of official certainty peeled back just enough for the public to feel the weight of something deeper. Patel's answer came quickly, almost rehearsed. He believed Epstein died by his own hand. Yet the way Kennedy followed up, pressing for documents, pressing for a timeline, pressing for transparency, revealed the true heartbeat of the exchange. It was never just about the headline. It was about whether institutions still tell the truth when the truth is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or damning. And that moment didn't stand alone. It sat on top of everything that had unfolded minutes earlier. The questions about a state judge evading federal law, the references to senior officials expressing open contempt for a presidential candidate, the revelation that the Department of Justice quietly settled lawsuits with two high-ranking figures who had pledged to stop a candidate from winning. Every question Kennedy asked built toward a single theme: accountability. Who holds it? Who avoids it? And what does it say when consequences fall hardest on the powerless, while the powerful navigate loopholes, settlements, and internal shields? We watched as Kennedy reframed the core contradiction of modern governance: the idea that ordinary Americans do not get to pick which laws they follow, while those in positions of influence often appear to do just that. His tone wasn't explosive. Wadonly, it was colder, flatter, more surgical. The way someone sounds when they aren't seeking drama but exposure. And Patel, sitting at the witness table, understood exactly why he was there: to answer for a pattern that keeps resurfacing in different forms across different years and different administrations. A pattern in which institutions that should be neutral arbiters instead become characters in the story, swayed by politics, pressured by leadership, constrained by internal factions, or worse, complicit through silence. And then there was the moment about the laptop, the one that became a national flashpoint, not because of what it contained, but because of what was done to shape public perception. Kennedy walked Patel through the list: a former Secretary of State helping coordinate a public letter, a chorus of former intelligence officials lending their names, all insisting the story was something it was not. Meanwhile, the FBI had the very material those officials were dismissing for months. 10 months, Patel confirmed. And when Kennedy asked the most basic question, who at the FBI stopped the truth from being told? Patel didn't offer a theory. He didn't speculate. He simply said he didn't have the name. That is what struck hardest. Not the absence of an answer, but the existence of the unknown. A nameless someone inside a vast institution who made a decision that rippled through an election, through public trust, through the national narrative itself. Kennedy didn't let it drift into abstraction. He demanded the name because he understood something fundamental. Accountability is not conceptual. It is personal. It lives in the decisions people make, and it dies when responsibility becomes diffused through layers of bureaucracy until no one can be pinpointed and everyone can claim plausible distraction. This hearing Vastafo, from the questions about a Wisconsin judge to the settlement with former officials, from the public letter signed by 51 experts to the quiet withholding of verified information, reflected a deeper anxiety in American life: whether government agencies operate with honesty, and whether the system still protects the integrity of the public square. Kennedy's voice carried that tension. Each question was less about the incident itself and more about what it symbolized. When a judge defies federal law, what does that say about respect for the system? When high-ranking officials openly express intent to stop a candidate, what does it reveal about internal bias? When the truth is withheld before an election, what are the consequences for democratic choice? And when even the details surrounding a high-profile death inside a federal facility remain shielded, what does that say about transparency? Patel, for his part, tried to walk the narrow line between acknowledging the failures of the past while promising clarity in the future. But Kennedy's final exchange, asking when the Epstein files would be public, joking darkly about whether it would happen before he himself passed away, captured the broader frustration of the American public. Not anger, not outrage, but fatigue. A weariness born from too many unanswered questions, too many shifting explanations, too many institutional promises that never quite materialize. And that is why this moment matters. Not because of the headline or the soundbite or the speculation that has circulated for years. It matters because it speaks to a core American expectation that truth should not depend on who is in power, and justice should not bend for those with influence. That institutions should serve the people, not shield themselves. That transparency should not require a senator demanding names. And that trust, the foundation of a free society, must be earned through clarity, not assumed through authority. What unfolded here was more than an exchange. It was a reminder. A reminder that democracy doesn't erode in a single sweeping act, but in the quiet accumulation of unanswered questions. In the gaps between what institutions know and what they tell the public. In the difference between equal treatment as an ideal and equal treatment as a lived reality. As the hearing closed, the weight of that contradiction hung in the air. The cameras shifted, the microphones dimmed, but the questions remained, lingering in the minds of millions who want to believe the system still works and fear the ways in which it doesn't. And that is why voices that demand answers matter. That is why oversight matters. That is why vigilance matters. Because the truth does not reveal itself. It must be called out, chased down, and held to the light. This has been Liberty Report USA, exposing what others ignore, asking the questions that do not fade, and standing firm for a government that serves the American people. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and subscribe to Liberty Report USA.